everyone, and welcome to another episode of the CustomerSure Closed Loop podcast. Thank you for joining us wherever you're watching or listening to this. So my name is Darren Wake. I'm Head of Customer Success at CustomerSure. And for this episode of Closed Loop, I'm delighted to once again be joined by Clare White. Clare, welcome and thank you.
Hi, thanks, Darren. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, wonderful to have you again. It's great. So if you've not watched previous episodes we've done with Clare, just to tell you a little bit about Clare. So Clare's the founder of Connected CX with over 25 years experience and a fractional customer chief customer officer. And basically Clare helps companies reduce churn, engage employees and grow sustainably, which is kind of a key thing which is often overlooked. She's also a best-selling author and a culture strategist. So Clare works particularly with scaling organisations to turn customers and employees into lifelong fans and advocates. And the key thing, I think, is employees as well, which is not just about customers. Mm-hmm. So Clare has a people-first approach and helps leaders tackle the really gritty, complex problems to embed lasting change that make a strategic difference and prove ROI and make sure those pound signs are included, and it's not just nice fluffy stuff that does actually have a difference. It makes a difference to the business. So wonderful to have you, Clare. Thanks again.
Thanks.
Yeah. So for this episode, what we're going to talk about is closing the loop. What is it and why is it important? Because I think it's one of those terms that we often talk about. I certainly use it a lot in the world of VOC. But a lot of people think, what the heck is he talking about? What does that mean? So we'll talk about that. And also, why is it important? And Clare knows an awful lot about this. So, Clare, what on earth is closing the loop?
Very simply, closing the loop is listening to feedback, identifying problems and making sure you fix them, but then going back to tell your customers that you have made improvements and you've listened to them. It's essentially just going from feedback stage all the way back to making sure people know you've fixed what was the problem. Mm. And there are so many organizations that are not doing this, which is a real shame, because it's a huge, huge opportunity. And I think when we think about emotional drivers, so there are 6 key emotional drivers when we think about customer experience. One of those is very much, you get me. And what that really means that you are listening to me, you know what I need, you know what I want, and you're going to deliver it for me. Another one is you fix things. So it's that knowledge that if I complain about something as a customer, I have the confidence that you're going to go away and you're going to fix it really quickly. Then you're going to come back and tell me that you fixed it. And actually, you're always going to ask me for feedback because you value my feedback and you want me to help you improve your business so that I have a better experience. And a lot of organizations will go as far as to collect feedback, but they won't necessarily have processes in place to make sure that they're identifying trends in the feedback. They then got resources in place to identify those trends and then identify what needs to be done. And then that they have operations to ensure that those fixes happen. And then that they close the loop and have a process in place to tell customers that, hey, we've actually made this improvement based on what you told us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that you described it perfectly, exactly what it is, because it's a concept that's talked about a lot. And it's doing parts of that is relatively straightforward and easy once you've got a system set up in place, but it really makes me sad how seldom or how many companies and big brands and organizations and key sectors that really should know better are totally not doing this, and I find that such a missed opportunity. Actually, interesting, our colleague here at CustomerSure, Guy, he talks a lot about a previous company he was at, and you know, how can we reduce customer churn, how can we improve loyalty. And he talks about when he looked at the comments from customers at a previous satisfaction survey and was reading them long after the event, long after people had given feedback through a VOC survey. And there was all these cries for help, kind of issues that people had that were, look, things hadn't gone well for that person. They wanted something to be sorted out, whatever that may have been. And they were just kind of ignored. They were just kind of put into a research report, put into a bottom drawer and gathered dust. And people may well have looked at high level scores, but they didn't address the issues that individual customers had. had what their problems were. And if you ignore them at your peril, because ultimately people will just vote for that with their feet and leave. And all those kind of cries for help, something's gone wrong for me, I'm annoyed, this hasn't worked, or whatever the context may be. It's just ignoring them. It's just ignoring them if you don't do anything with that. It's such a missed opportunity. It really is. Yeah.
It's huge. And actually, I have a statistic to support our discussion.
Love a start. Yeah.
So businesses that have closed loop practices see a reduction in churn of 2.1% versus businesses that don't have closed loop practices seeing an increase in churn of 2.3%. So if you think about that net difference, that's over 4%.
Yeah.
And that's significant. And I think that alone, and when you apply a value to that churn percentage, which we should all be doing in our businesses, because that's how leaders will talk, that's a huge amount of money. And actually, making sure that you have the closed loop practices, once you've got a process in place, it just keeps working. It's not hard. And I think a lot of organizations that I speak to seem to put this in the difficult box. The difficult box and the box that actually it's not going to make a huge difference. So we'll just carry on doing what we've done because actually we're doing okay. It's that complacency.
Yeah. Hey, sorry for interrupting the video, but I'll be quick. Now, is your VOC program really making an impact, or are hidden gaps really holding you back? Take our free VOC maturity assessment to get instant insights and actions to improve your VOC program. It only takes 5 minutes and you'll be closer to take your VOC program to the next level. Click the first comment to find out more. Now, let's get back to the video. It's a bit head in the sand, isn't it? And it's complacency, or if we'll just kind of ignore it and hope it goes away. But I think it's a cumulative effect, really. So it's almost like the dripping tap, isn't it? And they say, oh, actually, someone's got a problem, we'll ignore it. Another person's had a similar problem, we ignore it. Or this customer's got a problem, we won't respond to that customer. We won't empathise, apologise, try to put things right, give them a name, contact, and sort things out for that customer. And really, we're all people at the end of the day. We're all emotional creatures, and we just want that acknowledgement, particularly if me as a customer have given you my thoughts on a survey and been so kind to tell you why I'm dissatisfied and what you could do better. If that goes into a black hole, I think less of you as a business. The time of being a customer for that company may be on the wane. That's certainly, I'm not going to be a fan of advocate. In fact, at some point I'm going to walk with my feet. I'm never going to recommend you to my friends and so on. So I think people just think of it as an isolated thing and they don't see the cumulative effect. But if that's one customer having that problem, you times that by 50, 100, 1,000 customers, that has a big impact. And I love that stat actually, because that shows the impact it has actually on the business performance. And it's kind of a short-sighted view, really, just to ignore it. Yeah.
It's also demonstrates businesses that aren't thinking as a customer. And this is the inside out versus outside in, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Which we come across so often. And I think we've all worked in businesses that think one way or the other. Inside out being we think about ourselves and our business before our customers, not the impact on the customer. Outside in means we're thinking as a customer and the experience the customer has of our business. And when you do that, I mean, I think of I've got recent examples where I've left a business because the experience was really, really not good. And I was complaining, but I wasn't listened. I was actually going really high up. I think I went to the CEO.
Right. Go Clare.
Yeah, I know. I go to the top. And I was just told, actually, it's your fault, which is not what you want to hear. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I think ultimately, you always want to make sure that you're doing the best by your customers and that you are being open-minded and objective and not taking it personally when someone's giving you feedback, because I think a lot of businesses do. So I think when your customers are complaining to you, I have been in situations in organizations where the response has been, yeah, but that's because they've not done something right. And I think quite often this is definitely an inside out thinking.
Yeah.
You are not putting yourself in your customer's shoes and you're not thinking, okay, this is happening to this customer. This is being felt. This is not a good experience for them. We need to turn that around.
Yeah.
So it really does. It almost goes back to culture, which we talked about in a previous episode. It's about, you want to be thinking about your customer and how they're feeling. and not going, no, they just haven't done something right. They just haven't followed a process. Well, they maybe weren't clear on that process. So yeah.
It's so funny actually, because I was doing a sister podcast with Ian Golden the other day, and we do this CX Mythbusters, and one of the things was, is it a myth the customer's always right? And that's people always say the customer's always right. Of course, the customer's not always right. The customer gets lots of things wrong. That's a fact. That's a fact of life. The customers are people, and people get things wrong.
Yes.
And customers are always right. No, they're not. They're often wrong. However, the thing you balance that with, perception is reality. And their perception is, this has gone wrong for me today. They may have done the wrong thing. They may have got the wrong end of the stick. It may be a communication issue, in which case you'll take the brunt for that. It may be a clarity issue. It may be not keeping promises and commitments. But that's the perception, and if it's easy to say, oh, that one customer got it wrong and what they're on about. But if, again, you multiply that up, then it becomes a huge issue, really. And it won't be the customer, an individual customer, that their friends or family blame. It's going to be the company. So perception's reality. So, and the final point, actually, then to you is that thing about the inside out. I love that, because we're all customers of different companies. And when I work with a company, I always say, let's park. Imagine you finish work for the day and you're on your weekend with your friends or your family. So take your business heads off for a second. Tell us about the companies you deal with in your day-to-day lives, and who gives good or bad service. And everyone has a rant about companies they don't like. Often utilities, or people like Sky or Virgin often comes up.
Yes.
So we know what good and bad looks like. So why should we kind of distance ourselves when we put our work head in and switch on the computer? The final point I'd make, actually, about closing the loop as well is it is easy. And one of the benefits of CustomerSure is, obviously, a bit of a plug. We've got the CustomerSure Voice of the Customer platform that I'm privileged to work with and help companies use every day. But a big part of that is closing the loop and making it easy to respond back to individual feedback and respond to customers and all of that stuff. That's key. And one of the best things about my job, seriously, Claire, is when I work with my clients, companies that use CustomerSure, and I go and see them or speak to them, and I see people actually looking at feedback, looking at customer responses, and physically closing the loop, going back to customers, either with emails or calls, or actioning it, or putting it, or referring it to colleagues for real-time resolution, or going into a pot to say, actually, this is a service need to improve this area, and actually things happening on the back of it. That just makes my heart sing, because it's actually, goodness me, they're doing the right stuff, But it's just too rare as an industry, I think, sadly.
Yeah, it is. And I think organizations typically as well seek feedback inauthentically, because it's to tick a box.
Yeah.
So it's not, you don't genuinely want to hear what your customers are thinking and how you can help them better or what you can improve. You're doing it because you've been told to do it. And that, again, I think comes back, we could link that back to the culture not being great. We could link that back to employee engagement not being where it needs to be. There's so much, all of this is interlinked. Everything that I think we talk about today and on previous episodes is so interlinked. But ultimately, it needs to come top down again. There needs to be a genuine desire at leadership level to want to improve things for your customers and want to listen and hear what they're thinking and feeling and saying. And until you get that, and if you've not got a senior leadership team that is customer focused and thinking in this way, then it's going to be harder to do. But I think if we're coming back to helping CX leaders again, you need to be influencing those senior people about how important the feedback is, and linking it back again to the cost of churn that you might encounter if you don't have closed loop practices.
Absolutely. That's exactly it. I think what's key is people don't do it, or people are nervous about this whole closed loop and particularly responding back to customers when they've given negative feedback, because they're worried about creating a cottage industry of work. They're worried about, people are busy. They're worried about adding another thing to do for people's to-do list. They're worried about, do I need more headcount? Is it going to cost me money? It's going to take time from here to put it over to there. So that's the drag. That's the reluctance to do it. And I think there's some time involved in doing this, But I think the benefit of doing it far outweighs any cost of doing it. And actually, in truth be told, when I've worked with companies, closing the loop by responding to feedback isn't half as lengthy or time consuming as people make it out to be.
No.
Particularly now with technology and AI and that being able to help with responses and things like that, which a lot of clients use now, then it doesn't need to be some massive cottage industry that's going to take loads of time. So that's a myth. And certainly, again, a bit of a quick plug, the CustomerSure platform makes it easy to do that. So you're not having to, it doesn't become some massive burdensome process. But secondly, as well as it being not needing as much resource as what people think it does, the benefit of doing so is just far outweighs that. I know it goes back to your stat earlier, actually, which again, these are really useful stats. If we do this, the impact will be, X on retention, X on reduced cost to serve, recommendation, or whatever it is. So, yeah.
Exactly. And I think to that point, when there is AI out there now, and AI, I mean, I had a really good AI experience the other day, actually. I think I had sent in a request to a company on email. I actually got an email back that said, we are dealing with your query, but it may take us 24 hours to come back to you, because then I'm managed. I then know I'm not going to get a resolution quickly because they told me they're going to come back to me in 24 hours. And then I'm not thinking about it. And as a customer, that's a really good experience. So I think about how you can use AI in this process around closed loop. You still need to have human contact. It shouldn't replace human contact or that final, we are dealing with it and we've dealt with it. Yeah. That is very important. But you can definitely use it to make sure that it gives you more time to get back to people.
Yeah, really good point. What I always say with people when you're responding to feedback, best practice is when people give you feedback, you respond back to everyone. Now, that's not always practical, but what I say is put your feedback into different buckets, essentially. And with text analytics now, you can understand the sentiment, the topics, as well as the scores. That's a clear barometer of satisfaction. But you could say, okay, the people giving us 9s and 10s, a simple example list, but 9s and 10s, everything's wonderful. They are lower priority to respond back to. I'll still say best practice or reply, even if it's kind of an automated or fairly, standard kind of thank you, we appreciate you being a customer, we're delighted you're happy with the service we provide, a bit of a personal touch. The dissatisfaction people, the people where something's gone wrong, that's my point. It's an individual response. But by investing that time to put out those fires, it will pay you back 10 times over, And what the other question I get, this side topic actually about VOC surveys, is our response rates are dropping. How do we get people to give us more feedback? People are less engaged. One of the surefire ways you get more feedback from people is when they've given you it first time around, you actually acknowledge it, do something with it. Because if you give me feedback, Claire, and I just ignore you, you spend time ranting about what you like or don't like, and you get nothing back, you'll eventually just think, what's the bloody point? It's falling on deaf ears. It's never going to get read. And again, then you wonder why your response rates are dropping off a cliff. Well, you're not going back to customers at all. So yeah,
that's it. And actually, those customers could be those silent leavers. So people typically don't tell you when they're going to leave your business or stop buying from your business. They just silently drift away, and it's those individuals that absolutely probably are doing that.
Yeah, it is. It's exactly why feedback is key. I mean, obviously converts to this in what we do in our jobs, but it's so important to keep your finger on the pulse of what people think and feel about you and act accordingly. Yeah. And my final point about closing the loop would be actually that kind of ongoing closing the loop is key, but also communicating back to the wider customer groups that this is a long held thing about the whole you said, we did, you said, we are going to do, thank you for your feedback, this is what we're working on, this is what we've done, taking your feedback into account. So as well as going back to individual customers or cohorts of customers, communicate to your whole client base, and again, that's another way to elevate the VOC process and why it's important people give feedback. If you're making service improvements to improve it for everyone, tell all your customers, get marketing involved and say, hey, you customers, you gave us some wonderful feedback. You obviously painted a rosy picture, but then also this is what we're doing. This is what's coming next. Thank you for working with us to help us improve. You're helping us improve the service for other people like you. Bring a human element to it. There's so much you can do. I guess final part is a rant is when you, like you say, having a bad experience there where you went to the CEO. If you work with a company and you do have a rant because something's not gone well, you just hear nothing and you just think, hey, you're just taking me for granted, really.
Yes.
But
Yeah. Put yourself in your customer's shoes.
yeah, key, isn't it? But what I'd encourage everyone to watch, I did a really couple of good previous episodes with Claire about culture and employee engagement. And whilst they're separate episodes, culture's the overarching arc in this, but they're all kind of closely aligned, aren't they? I suppose.
They are. Yeah. You're very interlinked.
Yeah. Wonderful. That's been great again, Claire. I love your start session. We'll try and see if we can get some resources in the links. But like I say, with all of these podcasts, if you agree, disagree, thoughts, suggestions on what works for you for closing the loop, what you've seen works well, what you tried and didn't work well, we'd love to know. Please do get involved. So, anything final points from you, Claire, on this?
I think just one more thing is if you are telling your customers that you've fixed a problem, make sure you have. I have had examples of my nana's care home. They do a we've listened and this is what we've done. And it has been proven a few times that they've not done what they said they've done. So I think it's a very small example, but just make sure you do it.
It's a really good point, actually. Yeah, it's very easy to say we've done it, and if you haven't, you'll find out very quickly, won't you? Yeah. And you end up twice as cheesed off as what you started with. Yeah, potentially.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I hope your nana's okay.
Fine.
Good. Thank you once again, Claire. It's been an absolute pleasure. Hope to see you again on more podcasts or webinars and things in the future.
Yeah. Lovely. Thanks very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you everyone once again for your watching or listening to this, wherever. Do like CustomerSure, do connect to Claire on LinkedIn, and she'd love you to pose any questions with her as well. So
yes.
Thank you again, everyone, for watching, and catch up soon. Cheers. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.